were kids in the backyard, playing astronauts and rock stars. No one told us to stop it, called us unrealistic. Then suddenly you're 18, go to college for your plan B. What you want is too risky. Live for weekends and whiskey. We all got these big ideas. One day they're replaced with fear. How did we get here? Darling, don't quit your daydream. It's your life that you're making. It ain't big enough if it doesn't scare.
I recover loud. Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Prove to people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family and friends that never have to overdose ever again, never have to plead out to a lesser offense. I'm proud to say that I recover loud. I never thought I could, but I'm so proud that I discovered how to live my life again, controlling my own destiny. I needed recovery, I still need it desperately. Addiction never defined my identity. I recover loud, here to tell my own story. I recover proud, save a life of like 40. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud. I recover loud, yeah, I recover loud.
Hi, and welcome to this Father's Day special of Recover Loud. Tonight's guest is a friend of mine, Ryan Paige, and I'd like to welcome Ryan back to the show. Ryan, welcome. I appreciate seeing you every time you're able to come.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here.
Yes, and happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Same to you.
So Ryan, you're a father of how many?
3.
3 kids.
Yep.
So, like myself, I understand that while you were raising your children, you were in your period of active use.
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So my oldest daughter is 23 now. So she was born when I was 17. So she got the whole spectrum of my use. I didn't stop using until 37. So she really got the whole spectrum of what my life looked like. So I have 3 children with 3 different mothers, and I wasn't really present for any of them.
Okay.
But like I was with each of their mothers for a period of time, and I had done some dad things, right? Like I got them dressed and I gave them baths and I worked and I played the role of dad, but I was never really a father.
Now, were you using at 17 when you first became a
Yes.
father? Yeah.
So by 17, I was in my dark prime, right? Like
Okay.
I was just getting into a variety of different substances. It got worse. Obviously, we know it progresses over time. So it was the beginning of this long journey of active addiction. But so it was at that time, it was more criminal behavior and weed, alcohol, pills, and just being
Okay.
being a degenerate in
Yeah.
general. So
Yeah. So chaotic.
yes,
So as you mentioned, you said three kids, 3 different mothers.
yeah.
Without getting into the details of your relationship. So after you left the mom of your first child,
Mhm.
what kind of relationship did you maintain with your child?
Um, Not a very good one. Right?
Mm.
So I was a kid. I was a kid that had a kid. So
Mhm.
and me and her mother weren't necessarily really together. We were on and off for a very long time. And so when we were off, I wasn't there, right? Like I wasn't there to be a dad. not that I knew what being a dad even looked like at that time in my life.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
did you have a father growing up? Was your father around?
no, my father also suffered with opiate addiction, so he wasn't around. And going through that, I always told myself that when I did have kids, I wouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen to me. I would be a better father. And I think that I always aspired to be. I think I always wanted to be better than what I had. And the sad thing is I had nothing, so anything was better than that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I wasn't really around a lot in her early years, and then I got arrested. I went to prison when she was around 5 or 6, and I did
Yeah.
4 years in prison then. So I wasn't around for that either. And so it was just a constant in and out of her life from the beginning.
Yeah. So do you have an understanding? Do you believe that she really knew who her dad was?
I don't think so. I think that early on, um, she's. I think all my kids have always. Every kid wants a father, right? So
Yeah.
I think that early on, like she's always been like a daddy's girl. She was always loving and was happy when I was around, and I don't think that she understood. Uh, like I don't think any kid understands at that young of an age exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Um,
So as you're talking, you're talking about Tiana, your oldest,
yes,
correct?
my oldest,
Yeah. And you said how old is she today? 23.
23.
Yeah. So you know, my experience is a little bit different. I was using while I was raising my kids, but I was pretending to be that father,
Mm,
taking them to little league games. When I was hustling and selling pills, I used that money to take them on vacations. Whale watching,
right.
camping trips. And I thought, I was hiding it from the world, and I thought that I was hiding it from my kids as they got older. Did Tiana or any of the other kids know that you were using substances? Was it obvious or apparent to them, or do you think you?
So I think that as as time progressed, my addiction progressed, and it became more and more unmanageable for me.
Mhm.
Um, like with Tiana, I was in and out of her life, in and out of her life. Um, and then there came a period in time where I did well after I got out of prison, and then I had my son with my second child's mother, and I did well for a little bit. I just got
Mhm.
out of prison. I felt like I was on the right path. Um, I had actually gotten custody of Tiana, and she lived with me and my girlfriend at that time, and then we had my son Noah, and things were going well. I got off federal probation, and the day I got off, I started getting high again. Within 2 very short months, everything that I had built up with having Tiana there and having a safe, structured home for her kind of went away, and we went to staying in a townhouse in Saco. Um, I unraveled quickly, and so I think that at that time is the first time that Tiana really got to witness my active drug addiction. So she got to go through the opiate withdrawals and the near
Mm.
overdoses, and
And how old would you say she was then?
she was in middle school then, so 13.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
and by then, kids really know what's going on.
right,
They've got an understanding of drugs, or substances, and they at that age, they probably know someone or have been around other people outside the family that
right,
maybe it was alcohol or weed.
yeah,
So they've got that. And then to find out that that's what's happening at home, you
yeah,
know, it is something I know when my kids found out, it was much later, towards the end when before I left for rehab, that they really found out the extent of my use.
yeah,
Um, you know, uh, I know my son Dylan said, "I thought you were just smoking weed."
yeah,
He had no idea that we were doing the highest of the highs and the lowest of
right,
the lows.
mm,
So it was quite the shock.
right,
So, um, how do you believe that that affected her life? Was she a caring daughter? Was she upset? Did you fight? What was that like?
No, we didn't really fight. As I said, man, I was in and out very often, so the relationship was obviously strained, right?
Hmm.
Um, and she had a tough time, and we went from her living with her mom to living with me and my girlfriend, and then to me, to that ending, and then going to another place, and then I unraveled and put her with my aunt because I couldn't take care of her, or not that I couldn't, but I chose to
Right.
continue active use over being a father. And I told myself like it was the best thing for her, because I wasn't capable of taking care of a kid. When in reality was I just didn't want to stop getting high.
Mhm. Yeah, and I left my second son in Massachusetts with my aunt and uncle, because that allowed him to play football and basketball.
Mhm.
It allowed him to live on the lake, have a car and use the jet ski and the party boat,
Yeah,
and it gave him a lifestyle that I knew I couldn't give him. But in the back of my head, it was also getting him away from the substance use that I knew I was dealing with.
right.
And I figured that was going to give him a chance to get away from
Yeah,
it, you know?
same. And at the time when I made this decision, I thought that I was me being a good dad. It was me making the right decision for her. In
Mhm.
hindsight, now looking back at it, it was really just a selfish move.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she did have a better life than I could have given her, but that was only due to the fact that I chose to actively engage in using substances, and I was so deep in my addiction that that was what I wanted to do. So
Mhm.
not only did it was like a win-win, right? Like my kid gets afforded a better life, and I get afforded to keep getting high.
Right.
So,
Right.
so
Right.
that's
No
not
responsibility.
responsibility, right? No
Yeah.
responsibility, no accountability.
Mhm.
Um, I just didn't want to go the fuck up, man. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to keep doing what I was doing and
Yeah.
date girls and get high and live that
Mhm.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how valuable being a parent was. I didn't realize how much of a
Yeah.
gift that actually was.
Mhm.
To me, it was just a fucking responsibility and
Right.
something I had to deal with. It wasn't something that I got to do, right? And it wasn't
Yeah.
until all of my kids weren't in my life anymore that I realized how much of a privilege being a
Yeah.
father is, right? Like it wasn't like
Mhm.
this is a gimme and I'm a dad, so that's what it is. I didn't realize that it took stepping up and taking accountability
Mhm.
and responsibility and sacrificing, um, to be a dad.
Yeah.
My dad was a dad, right? My dad had sex with my mom. I was born, but he
Mhm.
was never present, so he was never actually a father.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was headed. Like
Yeah.
I got pictures of the kids and like a lot of lip service shit. Like
Yeah.
I would show
Well,
up
and
with these and
yeah, and that was the example you were shown. You
right,
know. Yeah. And one thing that talking with a lot of people, they're ashamed of how they raise their kids, or it's hard to forgive themselves.
mm,
How do they find forgiveness for neglecting their child?
right,
And for me, I can't deny the neglect and the abuse. I was present for my
right,
kids, but I was high. You
right,
know, um, if they had a little league game, they were going, but we weren't leaving until I got high.
right,
And if I had to wait for my guy, they may be late,
yeah,
and there was no way around it.
yeah,
So I might have been there, but I know that they went days without food sometimes because I didn't
right,
have that. We didn't always have toilet paper in the house. We had people in and out of the house.
right,
That at that time, it wasn't a safe environment.
right,
And I can't deny that.
right,
But getting to a point where I can accept what I did. I can change it, but from this day
mhm,
forward, I can be the present parent that I always wanted to be. You know. Obviously, you found recovery several years ago, um, and how long did that take you to to get into recovery and then start building a good relationship with your children?
Okay, so um, my recovery journey kind of started with my oldest daughter.
Okay.
It got to a point where um, she just didn't want to have anything to do with me, and she
Mm,
had told me like, if you can't stay sober, I don't want to deal with you anymore.
mm,
I can't have you in and out of my life, in and out of my life, and so she set that boundary up, and she said like 6 months, like if you can stay sober 6 months, then we'll talk.
mhm,
Um, so that was somewhere along the catalyst of where things were going. Everybody, I was at the end of it. Like all my family had pretty much shut me out. I couldn't see my son. I hadn't seen my son already in years as it is.
mm,
Um, I was active with my daughter, and my oldest daughter said she didn't want to talk to me, and she had the wherewithal to say like, this is not good for me.
mm,
So it started there, and then I think that after entering into sober living and starting to work on myself, it took about 3 months before
mm.
we actually started to talk.
Yeah.
And
So Ryan, sorry to interrupt. I think it's a,
yep,
a great time. To Tiana's here.
yep,
She's going to be joining the show. I think
yep,
this would be a great time to bring her in, and get some of her perspective as well.
perfect. Let me bring her in.
Sure. Thank you. So, welcome, Tiana, to Recover
Right.
Loud. So I was just talking with your dad, and he was telling us about what it was like for him raising you while he was in active use,
Right.
and the boundary that you set, for him to finally get sober, and to do the right thing. And he said that was the catalyst for getting him to where he is today. Um, so do
Right.
you remember having that conversation with him years ago?
Faintly. I think if it's the same one where I said about the 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was something to do with Christmas. I got him something for Christmas. It's funny, I still have the thing that I got him for Christmas. He had told me that he couldn't see me on Christmas because he couldn't afford a gift. He forgot his gift. He couldn't get a gift. Kept talking about a gift. And I was like, I don't care. I got you something.
Mm,
And he just kept talking about that. And then I kind of figured he was using and told him, like, listen, if you don't get sober, and like, I want you to have like 6 months underneath your belt before I communicate with you. And that was basically that.
mm, yeah. Um, so, if you don't mind, Tiana, we've gotten your dad's perspective, and on what it was like to raise you. Do you mind talking with me one on one for a minute, and we'll
Yeah.
get your perspective of that time? All right.
Yep.
He did tell me that you guys have had conversations, about his use, his recovery. You've been present for events.
Yep.
My daughter and I, well, me and my sons as well, we've been able to have those conversations.
Right.
That and recovery's provided me the opportunity and the ability to have those conversations.
Right.
So first, let's start with when you were a kid, and he said he wasn't very present. The relationship ended and he was gone from that relationship. How old were you when your parents first split up, were you old enough to know and remember?
No, he was. I didn't really know him until I was probably about 10.
Yeah.
Like I knew like that was my dad, but I didn't have a relationship with him. He was in prison. So I didn't really know him until I was 10, and then he got out and got custody of me, and I just had to go live with this man.
Oh,
And that's
so
kind of what happened.
so that was strange for you.
Yeah.
Was it scary?
Yes and no, because he was a lot different from my mom. And he made me do chores. He was a normal parent. He was like,
wow.
you're doing chores, and I don't care if you scraped your leg. Oh well, we're not going to the doctors. My mom would have baby me.
Yeah.
He didn't baby me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
he
and
was
you know,
different.
as he was saying, you know, he didn't have that experience growing up himself. He didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
Up till that point, he didn't have a child.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
all of a sudden, now getting out of prison, he's got a 10-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, from my perspective, I can promise you, he was probably just as scared. You know,
Yeah. I can only imagine.
yeah, and you know, we don't receive a manual, you know, the day you guys are born on what we're supposed to do.
Right.
You know, it's trial and error. So here you are, 10 years old, moving in to live with this guy that you don't know, who's just out of prison. Had you been told anything about his past? Did you think of him as a drug addict or a criminal?
Criminal. Not drugs. I didn't think of him as a drug addict. I didn't really know that much about that until later on, probably like 14, maybe.
Yeah.
But when he first got out, like I used to visit him. There's probably pictures that my dad had given you. There are pictures of me as little me with him, and you can tell where he's in prison. Tell which ones.
Gotcha.
So I'd be brought to all these different places to go visit him in prison. My mom would always, we go on a little vacation. We go to Disney and we go visit my dad to all these different places. And it would always be, he's in school. That's what I was told, that he was in school. So we had to go visit him at college.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
I never knew that he was bad, like did anything. I still don't really know why. I still don't know why he went to jail. No idea.
Really?
Yes.
Well, when we get back with him, we will ask him that.
Yeah.
and see.
I still don't know.
Yeah. And you know, that's something that, you know, as I was saying, my recovery has given me the opportunity to have those conversations. It's also given my kids the opportunity to ask those questions.
Right.
And of course, you know, when we're speaking and having these conversations, we don't know what to tell you because we don't know what you want to know.
Right.
You know, so I did mention to him, you know, last week when we were getting ready for this, you know, if you had questions that were still unanswered, and if you were willing to ask, you know, if he'd be willing to answer those questions. And just to put him on the spot, he did say yes. So, you know, but those are the things, you know, we don't know. Right. So you said you were about 14 when you found out about the drug use.
Right.
So tell me about that. How did you first find out or realize that your dad was using drugs?
Okay. So it's gonna be a little, like hard to talk, like not hard to talk about it, but hard to remember because I have PTSD. So I don't really remember a lot of things. But I'll try to remember as best as I can.
No, and that's fine, honestly. And it's not uncommon for you to have that PTSD and memory issue. My daughter's the same way. My daughter can remember instances of fighting, arguments, missing out on stuff, being late, not being allowed to go. But she doesn't remember the good times.
No.
You know, and, you know, I remember one time she said, I keep having this memory or a dream of us being in the backfield with tall grass and we're flying kites. And she said, I have that dream all the time. And I said, well, that's a memory that we did actually do, you know? And it was hard for her to connect that to reality because so much of her reality was negative. Right. You know, and as I was explaining to your dad, I was present for my kids the entire time. From the
Right.
time my daughter was born till the time she was 16, I was using.
Right.
I tried to hide it from them. We took them, when I was selling drugs, I was able to take them whale watching, camping trips, Fun Town, Splash Town. We did all those fun things, but it was drug money. So
Exactly.
even with the good memories today, it's tainted with the knowledge and fact that it took drugs to pay for it. And
Mhm.
every time we snuck off to the bathroom, it was to get high.
Exactly.
So don't feel bad about the memory issues. I
Yeah.
think it's very common, and children with parents who suffered, I'm sure that PTSD is very real. So,
Yeah.
um,
Feel like it was probably when we were living on our own. Yeah. It's like a very like it's kind of distinctive. We were living on our own, and there was nights where he wouldn't come home. And I would go to my next door neighbor and I would knock on her door. I didn't even know this woman, but I would go next door and I'd knock on the door and I would say, I need to use your phone because I didn't have one. We would have no heat because he didn't pay for the oil. So we'd have no heat. The power was ready to go. I remember I had a hamster. The hamster died because it was so cold. Um, and I went next door and I would call him and try to get him to come home. This would happen like probably a couple times a week. And then one night he came home and I've had really bad anxiety during that time. I was taking melatonin to fall asleep. I kind of knew something was up, I feel like, because I couldn't fall asleep. I was really afraid to be in that house by myself. I thought something was going on. And it's when he came home and he was like, he cried to me. I think he talked about he wanted to die. He was crying to me, and I honestly couldn't tell you my age, but he cried to me. He was telling me that he wanted to die and he didn't know what was going on and that he was sorry. But that's what I remember. And I want to say 8th grade. So
yeah.
What, 13?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like it was, around that time.
Yeah. That's tough for a 13-year-old to have their parent come to them. Especially, if it's suicidal or, ideation and stuff like that. How did that affect you?
Well, I mean, I got mental health issues out the wazoo.
Yeah.
But I don't blame that 100% on him either. I mean, not only my family from his side, but my family on my mom's side also has addiction issues. So it's not, the blame is not all on him for that.
Good.
But
so he mentioned leaving you with his aunt
yes.
at some point. Was that before you went to live with his aunt?
Yes, this was right before. Then another instance happened where I was in a hotel room. He had gotten a different car. We went to Sleepy Hollow in Biddeford, and we had gotten hotel rooms, and we had got kicked out of our apartment or left the apartment. Something happened. We weren't living there. And we went to this hotel room, and my dad left me in that hotel room for about 2 days, I think. And no one knew where I was. And my aunt ended up having to come get me because the front, the office knocked on our door because my dad didn't pay anything. And I was just chilling in there like, hey,
wow.
What's up? And so my aunt had to come get me, and it ended up being, I don't know if my dad was high or if he was drunk, but he had crashed his car head on into a tree. So, and then he was arrested. And at that time, I think prior to this, he wrote out a thing saying that he gave his full
parental rights.
To Robin Forbes, which she probably saved my life. Actually, not probably. She did save my life. So I would have been in foster care or even probably something worse if it wasn't for her.
Right. So once you went to live with her, and he did mention that during that time, he continued using.
Mhm.
Saw that as an opportunity to use because he now didn't have the responsibility to raise you.
Right.
Was he present any more than he had been earlier?
Um, not not really. I mean, prior to that, I was living with him, so other than that,
Mm,
he was stopping
yeah.
every now and then, but that was really it.
Mm. We talked about the 6-month challenge, I'll
Mhm.
call it, that you gave to him,
Right.
and how he described that as the catalyst to get to where he is today. Um, was it easy for you to turn around and be support for him once he did what you had asked?
Here's the thing. It was probably 2 months in, and I threw the towel. I was ready. I was like, "Oh, okay. You want to come? Want to come hang out at Thanksgiving?" He was at a sober living.
Mm,
He was either 2 or 3 months sober, um, and I had just reached out to him, and I was going through a time where I'm very much a life is short person. I don't like holding grudges.
good.
It's very
Mm,
life short. We know
mm,
that, especially when it comes to an addict.
yeah.
So it's a scary thing, and I didn't want to hold that anymore. So I was like, listen, 2 months, that's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot. It is for some people.
Yeah.
So I invited him to Thanksgiving with my mom's side. So might have been a
Good.
little awkward for him, but
Yeah.
he went.
Yeah. And that's great. It I had a son who I left to live with my aunt
Mhm.
um, for some of the same reasons. I saw it as bettering him, giving him better opportunities, stuff that I couldn't provide him, but it gave me opportunity to do what I had wanted to do without the
Right.
responsibility. Um, and today, my recovery has been working and building to get that those my kids back supporting
Right.
me, loving me. So I'm sure that was a great feeling in time for him,
Right.
to get that, to reach that goal
Right.
without having to wait 6 months.
Yeah.
So um that's great that you were able to do that.
Yeah.
And because I guess from what I understand or believe from what you said is, you had that relationship with him for a short time. When he was first out of prison, he wasn't using drugs.
Mhm.
You had that time with him, and then you loved him enough, and to give him that chance, and then you were starving for that connection back. And when you saw that he was doing the work that he needed to do, you reached out and brought him back. So
Yeah.
I do believe, that, that you were the catalyst, or part of the catalyst that got him to where he is.
Mhm.
And, the things that he does today is because he did it for his family,
Yeah.
to be the
100%.
dad that he always wanted to be.
Mhm.
So, the member of the recovery community that he is today is thanks to the work that you did with him. So, we're grateful for that effect that you had on him,
I'm grateful.
because yeah, and because he's turning around and he's helping lots of others.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, building that community around him and for others is really special.
Right.
So let's bring your dad out and have a quick chat with the three of us before we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. 1 second. No. What did you go to prison for?
You still don't know that?
No.
Man, I went to prison obviously for drugs.
Well, that's what I figured. Well, figured now, like as of recently, not as recently, but when I found out you did drugs. But
Yeah.
prior, I had no idea. I never knew the exact reason or why you traveled to so many states.
Because that's how the feds do their prison thing. But yeah, I sold crack cocaine to an undercover DEA agent, and
not
then
good.
they sent me all over the country
Mm.
and finished off in New Jersey, where you came down to visit me, with your grandmother, grandfather, your mom, and
Whole family.
whole family. Yeah, They disguised it as a Six Flags trip. And
I told you it was always a Disney trip.
I'm not sure exactly what they told you about where I was, but when you came in, we were all in khaki suits, so it could have looked like we were at like a school of some sort.
School.
Yeah. I was in college.
Exactly.
4 years of college.
Yeah, and that's what she said she was told.
Yeah.
That she was visiting you in school.
No
And
degree.
didn't
get it.
No. I do want to thank you guys, for being candid, for being open, for sharing what it was like for you, in your experience. The very first season, I was able to talk to my daughter, and get, some insight into how she felt. And I gave her the opportunity to ask me questions, things that she didn't know. Years later, I'm sure there's still plenty of things that we haven't discussed. But recovery provides us, the willingness, the openness, and the ability to talk about the things that, we used to keep hidden and we're ashamed of, and things that we thought would still hurt us. We can't talk about that. So recovery provides that. This show is about that connection, and showing how recovery can open us up to these conversations, to build the relationships back that we may not have had or that we destroyed years ago by our use. So thank you, Tiana. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, I'm sure we'll talk some more, get some work done together. Tiana, good luck to you.
Thank you. Good luck to you as well. And congratulations and happy Father's Day.
Yes, I appreciate that. Just keep working and stay open and, do the things you guys have been doing. And thank you for supporting your dad. As I said, you providing that catalyst for change for your dad has helped build support and provide catalysts for others to find the help that they need. Ryan, real quick, how is Access Direct Recovery Network going?
Access Direct Recovery Network is going very well. We continue to grow network, and we continue to structure for the long haul here. Obviously, during the summertime, a couple different things happen. The amount of phone calls that come in go down. Summertime equals nicer weather, more access to money, substances, things of that nature.
Well, people aren't so afraid to live outside, homeless, and to live that lifestyle.
Right, and it's there's more money, there's more work. We get into the winter season, and people start to get cold and lonely, and holidays and families, and the emotions start to kind of sink in, and I think that's the time that we're most busy. Also, we have the for-profit business during the summer, which takes up a whole bunch of our time. However, we're still able to help on that end. 95% of the 30 plus employees that we have at CEO Camp Pro are all in recovery from different sober houses and recovery centers. So we try to make sure that we're helping at all times. It's kind of the cornerstone of what me, Cynthia, and our family is about. If you ever see Access Direct anywhere doing anything, it's usually us as a family.
That's great.
So
that's great. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Ryan, for the work you're doing. Thank you, Tiana, for being there to support for him. And thank you both for coming on the show to Recover Loud.
Thank you for having us, Mike. It's always a pleasure.
Happy Father's Day, Ryan.
Happy Father's Day, brother. Take care. Namaste.
I recover loud. Let's go. I'm on a journey to discover the truth. Living life in recovery is lovely. You got the power in you. Surround yourself with positive energy. Judges hitting people with provocative penalties. Need to make a change. Advocate to change the laws. Prove to people that it's not insane. When you stand behind a cause, I'm here to speak about the pain. Recover loud to normalize the disease that's been killing all my friends and my family. The time is now to let it all go and recover loud. The benefit is healthy people, family.